Alright guys, we are back once again with a new lecture in which we are going to be installing the necessary fonts that this Photoshop design uses in a way that we can recreate them and use them in our website design. So stay tuned. Alright guys, we are back here and let's see. Firstly, we need to distinguish and we need to observe which fonts is this PSD document is using. Now, during your career, you might find PSD designs that use a lot of fonts, and that usually is not the best idea to have that many fonts installed. So I'm guessing that these PSD design, because it looks really clear and it looks flawless, I'm guessing that it has no more than 2 fonts. So the way you identify fonts is pretty easy. You just press on the shortcut T, or you are clicking this horizontal type tool, and for example I want to see which font does this heading use. So all I have to press is left click on the sentence, and right now I'm seeing that it says the following fonts are missing for that title, and the font that currently is using is Montserrat Bold. So font Montserrat, alright? And if you already by any chance you have this font Montserrat installed on your machine, you will not be prompted for this window, but instead it will be shown immediately right here. So for now, we know that this website uses the font Montserrat. Let's test something else. Let's test this paragraph here, and if we click on that, we can see that the following fonts are missing from that sentence, and the fonts are Helvetica New Thin. Alright, so far we have 2 fonts, and that's basically it. If we click here, we can see that Helvetica Light is appearing, which is pretty much a very similar font. Right here we have this Helvetica New again, and if we continue on the site, probably here is Montserrat. That is correct. Here would be Montserrat Bold again. Let's see where here. Oops. Here would be the Montserrat Regular. So right now we need to implement bold and regular, and we're gonna use the Helvetica New, only 1 font, so the website can be consistent and pleasing on the eye. So firstly, let's install the first and the main font of this website, which is the Montserrat. And always the first thing you should do when installing fonts is check if the font is available on Google. Check if the font is a Google font. How can we do that? Go on your browser, press on Google, and write Montserrat font. Alright? And let's hope that this is a Google font, and as we can see here, there is the Montserrat Google Fonts link. Click this. Google makes it very easy to install fonts, and I do recommend to use Google whenever possible. So Google Fonts. Alright. So we have Montserrat here, and if we press on select this font here, right here we're seeing one family selected. Okay, click on that, and you're going to be given this kind of window which says that the font of our selection is Montserrat. The load time is fast, so this font is pretty nice. And if we want to press on customize here, we can select also the bold version of the font. So not only Montserrat Regular, but also bold. Alright, so check on bold as well. And now when we embed this font, all we need to do is copy the link here, which is fonts.googleapis.com/css, and the font. Copy that, and all we need to do is paste the font in our index.html. So let's just do a comment and write Google fonts, and right after that just paste the link. And then in the CSS we also need to call this font here, and that's pretty much how we do it. Font family Montserrat sans serif. So let's try and see if it works here. I'm just going to write that a whole body should use this font, for example. So body, font family Montserrat sans serif. And if we do live preview our website, there is already some heading here. Let's increase the size of the heading as well. Font size 25 pixels, for example. Let's do live preview on this and see what happens. All right, perfect. Now we see that this font has changed here. And in order to see if the font is showing up as it should, is to right click on this test message here, go to compute it, and scroll to the very bottom where we see that the render font is indeed Montserrat. Perfect. Now that we see that that's working, let's implement the other font, which is Helvetica New. And this time we're going to use a different way of creating and inserting fonts. So because Helvetica New is not a Google font, we are immediately facing a problem which is harder to implement a particular font. But do not worry, we're going to do that right now. If you go and check your project files, I've included this font especially for you. I'm just going to drag and drop. This font should be available for you into the project files in the CSS folder. So all I'm going to do is copy this font here and paste it in our CSS folder along with this style. So there goes our font. We can also create a font folder here, but so far just leave it as is. Once you've pasted the CSS into the CSS folder, this font, go to the CSS and let's try to include the font right now. The way we include the font is pretty self-explanatory and pretty easy. Just do at font face, open curly brackets, and do font family, the same name that is on this file here. So font family would be Helvetica New Thin. Close that. Underneath write source, which basically says the source of this font is local because we have this font locally. Right now we are in the CSS, so we're basically selecting the Helvetica New Thin. We just need to write the extension of the font, which is OTF. I'm pretty sure that the font is OTF. Open type font file, so OTF. Then do comma and then do URL. Again, open up brackets and do the very same thing again. Copy this and paste it. And do just space format, open up brackets and do the extension, which is open type, and close this. And now we should be ready to go. Let's try font family Helvetica New Thin on the body and let's see if everything works fine. Refresh and we see that the font has changed and it looks pretty much like everything is working fine, that this is the Helvetica New Thin font. Let's just make sure that that is the case here. Compute it, scroll down, and we see that the rendered fonts are Helvetica New Thin. Thank you for watching, guys. And in the next lesson, we are going to be studying and creating helper classes, which is a pretty advanced option in CSS. It is pretty easy to do. By advanced, I mean that advanced users are using it because helper classes save a lot of time when creating websites. So more on help classes in the next lesson. So see you there.